Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Olympus Sky. As always, got something interesting to show you, and I'm particularly excited about this image and the next one. We are going to cover this in a two-part video thing, and part two will be available as well. So while you're watching part one, I'll be doing part two, and I think within an hour it will be online. So kind of a really nice start for 2015, won't you say? After these two videos, I need to, because I'm trying to round up 2014 completely before I implement changes to this channel. So, this is the image that we will be covering. As always, official link in the description. Enhanced versions, you can find them on my Google Plus. And yeah, I think let's see. If you don't know, because some people are starting to follow me on Google Plus because we had contact on email. That's not my Google Plus, it's this one. You just click here when you're on my homepage. The second image will be the image next to it, which is a lot more clear than this one. However, I still find this interesting, and the reason why I really got into this image is not particularly well. It's kind of when you look at this, it does make like an interesting angle, but there's nothing here, only sand. And the way the debris is spread here is kind of interesting. Usually, debris follows a pattern, but it's kind of like going this way, and then something here. So I really found that interesting. So I thought, you know what, let's grab a look here, and I might even do this entire soul because it is very interesting. So let's jump into this. Again, a bit crazy lay here. But what I first wanted to cover is something that, let's get into the small anomalies first. And then I'll talk about it. So we got this kind of, let me see. That knew that the brush wasn't in the correct size again, as usual. But I do have to lay it this time. It's kind of like a UFO disc shape here. I don't know if you can see it here. Yeah, I have been messing around, haven't I? That's fine. You can see this kind of disc shape here, and it kind of reflects like a UFO, which is very interesting with a dot above. But I think there's some kind of, a couple of pixels here. I don't think it's completely round, but it is nevertheless interesting. I'll show you several views here. This is the inverted one. And you can see it's kind of really interesting because when you zoom out, it definitely stands out. I don't know if it's due to the shape why it's reflecting so much, or maybe the composition of the object. So maybe even both, who knows. So let me go back here. There's another interesting one here. A very interesting pattern here if you look closely. Really interesting rock. It seems to be symmetrical, so this side is like the same as that other weird antenna like looking thing, and there's something in the back here with a crack here, I don't know. So that was interesting. So let's jump in here. Wait, hold on, I'm seeing something here. No, it's nothing, unfortunately. Well, the quality of Curiosity images are still really bad. It's getting worse with the day. I also found this little small thing here. Looks like a cone shape, and it's kind of funny because at first I was looking at this, and then I was looking at this, and then I don't know, it almost like an alien head or something. But that's not the case here. I can assure you that. However, the object still remains interesting. It is an interesting rock here, but this little thing is actually behind it. So, and there's a little crack here. It is definitely cone shaped, and I really find these shapes here particularly interesting. It's almost like a bit of like a diamond shape here, but nevertheless. And then I looked at the side here. There's something lying around there. And it's kind of interesting because again you see that, I know I've been messing around with it, but you can see it in the original image as well. Now let me grab it. Let's zoom in. You can see that kind of the bottom here kind of blends into the ground, but it's definitely part of it. So let me zoom out, because when you zoomed in too much, you can't really get the overall picture. Then again, I found this one, so I'm starting here with the small one and going to end with the big one. I don't think that this video will take too long. Nevertheless, I'm gonna make a part 2 with the other image where you can see what we're showing you here. Definitely a lot more clear, plus some extra anomalies. This, particularly part 2, you'll see it's a lot more interesting than this one. And that's why I'm really excited, because again, it has been a while for me where I've literally found like really interesting shapes in Curiosity images. And definitely the last couple of sources are very interesting. And as you can see here, makes these interesting corners here. And I can almost bet you, because this part is like in front of it, this is probably going down as well. It's starting to look a bit, artificial. At the moment it looks like a box. But like I said, we'll cover this one definitely in part 2 a lot more. And when you look at this one, there's an interesting like rock here. At first it seemed like this was part of this, but it's actually behind there. So you got to draw the line here, and we'll definitely grab a better look at that one as well. But here's the deal. I want to talk about this, and I've been busy with interesting projects in 2014. I've learned a lot, and I'm really looking at pictures differently. There's by the way, also a hole in this image, like some kind of underground tunnel. And well, it is particularly interesting how symmetrical it is. But while you're looking at this ridge here, right? You can see it's kind of blurred out, and it's kind of weird, and it's understandable because the focus is set differently here, like more towards the background, and that is understandable. But the point is, you'll see this even when there is focus. So I did want to cover this, and you can see this entire ridge everywhere. It's kind of, I don't know, kind of blended in. It looks a bit manipulated. So here's the truth here. Come on. See now, so you wouldn't even notice that I removed that entire area here. And my point is that I really find this kind of stupid or weird in another way. But it's you see so much detail in the back, and it's so much further away. Now this particular image, like I said, the focus is like more on the back, but this is constantly happening. Where you see a lot more detail, for example here, but you just can't figure out what the hell is going on here. It's always one big mess. So I have no idea what is going on, but it doesn't make sense. And I know that this image is the wrong example here, but just wanted to show you that. Just wanted to keep your brain sharp, so it is happening, and we'll get into greater detail, and definitely this year, maybe even this month, depends on how everything goes. So yeah, it's weird. You see this in a lot of images where stuff that is further away, you have more detail in it than it's actually closer here. And like I said, I understand focus, this, that, and I'm not a new guy. Well, how I would even feel guilty like starting a YouTube channel, not knowing what I do. It's kind of ridiculous, I'm really here just to make you think. I really hope that I inspired some people to start looking for themselves and maybe start using Photoshop and you name it. I got a little small shabby tutorial in the description. So let's grab a further look in here. Enough about that. I'll definitely get into what I exactly was trying to tell you here, and there will be an entire separate amazing video about it. It's quite a task here. This is very interesting, somewhat interesting, and I got something here that is in between here, but what it is couldn't tell you. It's possibly just rock, this thing is interesting. Also found this kind of how to call this, a lost, hold on, whatever, just grab this one, kind of like like a lost crater. I don't know what happened here. It seems to be elevated, and it's something sticking out here, and then going to the back, like, see this line here, and then I've no idea, but it is interesting debris. And I will show you like this hole right here, and like a bigger anomaly, which is really strange. You might see it right now, you might not see it. It is tough to recognize it in the first place. So here we have this hole, and I kind of figured out that, let me remove this, the Curiosity's camera is probably looking straight into it almost. You can see that it's kind of in an angle, and that's why I was able to throw in like a circle just to see how round it is. And just by going by the black areas here, it is definitely very symmetrical, very interesting. But the way this is destroyed is even more interesting, because it almost seems like it's kind of melted in. See, like going like this. At first I only saw this with these two dots, and I was like, hey, hold on here, let's grab a better look here. So what this is, I don't know, just a random hole, I don't know. A hole on the ground, I don't know. Nobody is able to tell you this. Another interesting thing here, let's zoom in again. Very, very confusing here. You can see this little angle here, right? But that's not all. You can see that dust or sand has piled up here, and then it's kind of strange to have this kind of hole laying on top of this sand while it's actually incorporated into this wall. If you look at the debris closely, it seems to be like a leftover thing from a building. You can even, where we were here, see, it's kind of square-like rectangular debris. And in the next part you'll see even more of this. There is definitely clear indication that we are looking at a foundation from a house or a building of some sort. Plus there is some mechanical things in there, like literally wires coming out of it. It is very interesting, so I highly advise you to check out part 2. Because why not? I mean, this is really cool. I'm really excited. Not all people can understand this, of course, or see this the first time. But all I'm asking you is give it a chance. Try to think about it a bit logically. And filters. Yeah, I'll show you the original in a moment. Let's jump into the bigger one. And it might not be that obvious in the first place. But like I said, it's all about finding structure. Looking around the thing. Look, we have an interesting thing here, right? Like this kind of wall-like shape here, and so let's look around it, you know, and that's kind of the key rule here. You should always apply that, but let's check it out. There's definitely a circle weird thing here. All right, I'm not the best one. Keep pressing the wrong buttons here, and kind of, you know, you can see that it is going to the back, it is connected, so it is very interesting. Now, to what is it connected? See, I mean, you gotta extrapolate just a bit, because you're on a planet that has had like some ginormous catastrophe going on there, and you can see this weird kind of roof-like X-shaped thing with this kind of pillar-like structure. And there's some kind of bit of triangular, kind of like a triangular shape there. But I wouldn't be able to tell you what this exactly is. Again, nobody could tell you. I have literally no idea what this could be. So you might not be able to see it, and that's fine. So what we are going to do here quickly is I'm going to grab the whole thing. And we're going to move it just above here, you know, and so you can now focus on it just a bit better. Again, let's look behind it. Again, some very interesting shapes. I really think that this picture is really interesting. I don't know what happened here, or the way kind of these rocks, or whatever you like to call it, shaped the way they shaped, and really find this wall very interesting. And I really missed that, because in the past, when I was really into curiosity a lot more than I am now, I found a lot of foundations there. And there's the last thing that is interesting in this image is this little weird thing, and I'll show you in a moment. Again, it looks very, very destroyed. You look at this here, you see again this weird debris-like arm here, and another weird debris-like arm with nothing in the middle, or at least some other debris. So what is this? And I think that this thing is actually attached to this, but again, nobody will tell you what this is. Now, I'd like to show you, you know, I have a lot of different views of this image, and let's see, we've got the black and white here, and I'll share as much as possible on Google Plus. You'll find the link in the description. Of course, I can't put it immediately on Google Plus and such, So give me a moment when it has been uploaded, but first I'll finish part 2, throw those 2 online, and then I'll worry about Google+. Plus I have a lot of more interesting stuff, maybe even a third video, but that's a bit crazy. But it is early, it is 6 o'clock, although I need to go and eat. You know, it's 6 o'clock, that's what Dutch people do. Not a minute later. So I'm going to finish up here. I hope you enjoyed this part here. Check out part 2 definitely. Got it here. Sorry, that's for another video. Not in another thing. Don't like giving previews and such. It's part 2, and as you can see, it is a lot more clear. And I don't think that I have to do a lot more to it. It is very interesting, of course. And so this is the side basically to the left, and you will see some very, very interesting stuff. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you in part 2, right? Leave a thumbs up and subscribe and all that. Follow me on Google+, because not everyone likes Facebook. So again, have a good weekend and see you in part 2. Normally first, and then I'll talk about it. So we got this kind of, let me see, that knew that the brush wasn't in the correct size again, as usual, but I do have to lay it this time. It's kind of like a UFO disc shape here. I don't know if you can see it here. Yeah, I have been messing around, haven't I? That's fine. You can see this kind of disc shape here, and it kind of reflects like a UFO, which is very interesting with a dot above. But I think there's some kind of, you know, a couple of pixels here. I don't think it's completely round, but it's channel. So, this is the image that we will be covering. As always, official link in the description. Enhanced versions, you can find them on my Google+. And yeah, I think, let's see. If you don't know, because some people are starting to follow me on Google+, because we had contact on email. That's not my Google+, it's this one. You just click here when you're on my homepage. The second image will be the image next to it, which is a lot more clear than this one. However, I still find this interesting, and the reason why I really got into this image is nevertheless interesting. I'll show you several views here. This is the inverted one. And you can see it's kind of really interesting, because when you zoom out, it definitely stands out. I don't know if it's due to the shape why it's reflecting so much, or maybe the composition of the object. So maybe even both, who knows. So let me go back here. There's another interesting one here. A very interesting pattern here if you look closely. I mean, really interesting rock. It seems to be symmetrical, so it's... Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Olympus sky. As always, got something interesting to show you, and I'm particularly excited about this image. And the next one, we are going to cover this in a 2-part video thing, and part 2 will be available as well. So while you're watching part 1, I'll be doing part 2, and I think within an hour it will be online. So kind of a really nice start for 2015, wouldn't you say? After these 2 videos, I need to, you know, because I'm trying to round up 2014 completely before I implement changes to this, which is not particularly well. It's kind of, when you look at this, it does make like an interesting angle, but there's nothing here, only sand, and the way the debris is spread here is kind of interesting. Usually, you know, debris follows a pattern, but it's kind of like going this way, and then something here. So I really found that interesting. So I thought, you know what, let's grab a look here, and I might even do this entire soul, because it is very interesting. So let's jump into this. Again, a bit crazy lay here, but what I first wanted to cover is something that, you know what, let's get into the smaller